Reading a news story is one thing. Understanding who owns the media outlets is another.
She saw no survivors, just body parts.
I think people should be careful what they wish for on China. You know, if China were to revalue its currency, or China is to start making, say, toys that don't have lead in them, or food that isn't poisonous, their costs of production are going to go up. And that means prices at Walmart here in the United States are going to go up, too. So,
This is the Rebel News Team for the UnitedStance.com. A very interesting story just about slipped by us on September 30th, 2011 from WUSA9.com via 9 News Now, Baltimore, Maryland. And having read many news articles connecting the dots between the NSA and private companies rang a huge bell.
Before September 11th, about 3,000 state and local government organizations were involved in counterterrorism. After the attacks, intelligence reports indicated threats were everywhere. Local police stepped up to help. Emergency management agencies set up to respond to natural disasters were ordered to be prepared for chemical, biological, and nuclear attacks. Many new Homeland Security offices opened. For most of the country's history, these were located on borders. Now they've expanded into Middle America. To coordinate all this, the FBI set up joint terrorism task forces across the country. Local and state police, the CIA, and a dozen military departments participated. Then states created fusion centers to analyze the increasing flood of information. The Department of Homeland Security gave states billions of dollars. By 2010, there were hundreds more government organizations working on counterterrorism at the state and local level. Federal agencies grew by a third. 41 new federal offices were opened in Texas alone, where officials worried about threats from Al-Qaeda and drug cartels. State-run organizations doubled. City and county-run organizations also flourished with federal grant money. Nearly 10 years after 9/11, about 4,000 government organizations work on counterterrorism. Many of them help collect, store, and analyze information on thousands of U.S. citizens and residents. Type in your zip code to find organizations working on counterterrorism in your area.
The title of this article is Former NSA Contractor Claimed Over 836 Hours More Than She Actually Worked. Now this news article seems to just point out the criminality of one NSA contractor fleecing the taxpayers through the NSA funding, but you'll soon realize the story is much larger and quite uncounted as to its alarming aspects than this softly reported potboiler of a story claims to be. The article reads, Baltimore, Maryland, WUSA. Friday, Ann Warwick was found guilty of claiming over 836 hours more than she in fact worked on a national security agency contract. From August 17, 2009 to July 15, 2010, Warwick worked for Business Consulting Technology LLC, that's BCT LLC, remember that name, a subcontractor who provided intelligence analysis services for the NSA. Warwick worked at NSA headquarters exclusively when she was working on the contract. Each week, BCT required employees to submit a timesheet for hours worked that week. Warwick submitted timesheets falsely stating the number of hours she had worked on, more than 150 days, and submitted timesheets for 57 days that she did not in fact work at all. NSA paid the contractor $106.26 per hour and $132.02 per hour for the hours that Warwick claimed to have worked, overpaying by a total of approximately $108,780. Warwick was sentenced to 5 years probation with 10 months to be served in-home detention with electronic monitoring. She's also required to pay the restitution of the $108,780. To understand the larger picture of this article and what should have truly been pointed out is this, and this is from an article that you may or may not remember from the Washington Post, July 19, 2010, entitled Top Secret America. Now this gave us a list of companies that have in their employ internal spies hired by the Secret Service agencies, and it's paid for by taxpayer money. This was not strange enough that the list gives the names of companies, headquarters, locations, the year of establishment, number of employees, the revenue, location, and government clients that we provide funding for. The one thing you'll notice from this list is the revenue line. Listed are some very curious unknowns. Other companies have been listed as having revenue of under 100 million to 10 billion to 50 billion. But our concern went directly to the companies listed as having a revenue as unknown because this article, its story was about a company called BCT LLC. Now, going through the list provided by the Washington Post, we noticed that, in fact, our suspicions were correct and that this company was indeed on that private company spy agency list. But looking at their listing as type of work provided gave a true stomach-turning result. VCT LLC is a staffing agency. Okay? This would seem to have no relevance to any degree had this news article not picked up on the NSA ties. Now, the NSA is the most top-secret national spy agency that the United States has to offer. They're also responsible for all the hush-hush surveillance on the American people. So please take note of all the companies having revenue listed as unknown.
The federal magistrate ordered 4 Northern Virginia men held without bond tonight in what prosecutors say may be the biggest government bribery kickback case in American history.
Yeah, they had allegedly had their eyes on nearly $1 billion contract after defrauding the Army Corps of Engineers of at least $20 million. Bruce Deshan is live at the U.S. District Court, where the men were just led away in leg irons. Bruce.
Yeah, Derek, the hearing this afternoon, the 4 alleged conspirators hung their heads, rubbed their eyes as the magistrate ordered them held. They are Kerry and Lee Kahn of Alexandria and Fairfax, their father and son, Michael Alexander of Woodbridge, and Harold Babb of Sterling. Prosecutors say they were involved in an outrageous scheme to defraud the government of millions.
This scheme is staggering in scope, and I think it surprised all of us.
Kerry Kahn was picked up at his $1 million Alexandria mansion, which is now subject to forfeiture. Authorities say he pocketed $18 million himself as a manager with the Army Corps of Engineers, who was able to both let contracts and certify that the work was completed. The indictment alleges the 4 men scammed a $45 million contract to supply information technology and security to the Corps, more than doubling the real cost and siphoning off the surplus into shell corporations.
One of the most brazen federal procurement fraud scandals in our nation's history.
Prosecutors allege the men used the money to buy expensive real estate, BMWs, Audis, Rolex and Cartier watches, high-end liquor, luxury hotel rooms, and flat-screen TVs. A 5th man, the chief technology officer at a software firm that may have actually done some work, may be cooperating with prosecutors to break up the alleged conspiracy, but investigators refuse to say.
We're not prepared to identify Company A or the chief technology officer.
Prosecutors say the conspirators were plotting an even bigger payday. All of this apparently made possible by the special rules Congress has set up for Alaska Native corporations. The contracts were steered through one based in Dulles called IACTEC. Now, Congress set up special rules for Alaska Native corporations some 40 years ago to stimulate Alaska's economy and to settle some tribal claims. Those special rules include no-bid, sole source contracts up to $1.3 billion. Now, when you're talking that kind of money, as this case suggests, the possibilities of corruption are also enormous. Derek?
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. To understand how the Pentagon can lose track of trillions, consider the case of one military accountant. who tried to find out what happened to a mere $300 million.
We know it's gone, but we don't know what they spent it on.